Well, we'll see if Polar Ace can make the red side work yet again, Coco. They had a great draft compared to that first game. And I think that if you're Simplicity, you got to be afraid now of the flexibility of Polar Ace. They pulled out two very different looking team compositions. And we were super critical of what Polar Ace grabbed right away. We thought it was the Camille and then the Volibear jungle, but they switched it around on us because of production and had the Lee Sin with Volibear topside. But despite not getting that crazy early game lead, they still clutched it out. What can Simplicity do now on the blue side yet again to make sure that they have a better matchup this time around?
Well, aside from all the hiccups that we had in the beginning of the draft for that second game, I think currently Simplicity is flipping a coin to see either their jungler is Panda or if their jungler is Panda. So we're gonna see if it's gonna be a little bit more of a
It was
Pan
right
don't.
there, Coco.
I think Panda.
It was right
like
there.
I'm thinking DUH, like Panda. Like that. Like it's just like a short, like
I was trying to think of some spam we could throw in Twitch chat, like
okay, well let's
throw these handas for Mr. Panda or something. I couldn't find something that
it's either Pandu or Pandon't with yours, or it's Panda or Panda. With the real emphasis on the facial expression. But nonetheless, the thing is they're in dire straits now. Like you still have 0 points on Simplicity. You got to get it for the 150, and at least if you get third place, I think it's what 225. So you're shooting for the chance for 225 at the very minimum, so you can overcome Polar Ace, who you could argue has gotten the luck of the draw with getting fourth place in both Upsurge and then with Big.
And now looking to make that push here in Cup as well, making top 4 in playoffs in 3 different leagues is very impressive of a resume when you're looking at Polar Ace, if they can clutch this one out. It's just a little disheartening to see how they did it against Simplicity. Again, it was back to back to back picks onto a Kindred, and then that last team fight where they also got the Kindred. Panda not having the best late game, and it was funny. Maybe a little disrespectful from Smacks, but I'll give it to you. You can't press R on Kindred after you're dead. So we'll see if Simplicity can get something better for Panda this time around. But no, the Karthus is banned away again. But this is what I like to see. We were talking earlier, Coco. I don't think Simplicity can give up Ashe for second pick. You got to lock it in right now.
No, yeah. Just get that off the board. Give it to yourself. Do a rinse and repeat of your pick comp that you had at the very beginning. Karma is a nice snag because it denies that away from Simplicity as well. You don't have that going onto the Mr. Bad, and it gives a little bit more utility for Aphelios to deal with a possible snag if they have Blitzcrank running in again. However, I do want to say Aphelios a little bit of a bait, to be honest, because there's just so many tools and so many matchups that can deal with him currently, just of how many times people have formulated that situation.
Not going to be the Blitzcrank this time around, though. I actually would have loved to see that even with the Karma, but instead they're opting for that Bard, some more pick potential. And this is something very different from the Kindred. Still similar style in terms of trying to scale and power farm, but the Graves locked in for Simplicity.
All right. I like that for Panda just because it's a little bit more aggressive, and they were talking about on the draft that you want to keep that tempo with your solo laners, just going all in ham every single day and getting those kills and getting those early advantages so far. But it's just a question again. Yeah, Panda or Panda. So Lee Sin with that snag as well. Sort of the same story, just in the sense of you needed to be perfect again. He did okay last game on it, but I don't know, like Pie Swags, I'm still concerned for that situation just because of how strong Panda can be when he's really on his game.
It makes more sense into the Kindred also, because you have that kick to get them out of the Lamster Spite. With the Graves, I feel like it's a little harder, especially if this is going to be the Ignite tech that we've seen gaining more popularity in solo queue and in pro play, where you can actually duel the Lee Sin early. But I like what Polar Ace grab here. The Ornn, a little extra scaling, and a very strong frontliner.
Ornn with the grab. I'm liking Polar Ace's draft right now. Like, you have the engagement, you have disengage as well with Karma for that back peel. You have Ornn upgrades as well for Aphelios to really put Spawn as the super carry for your team, as it should be. Only question is, how many tools will Simplicity have to deny that? Because you still got the Ashe Arrow. Mordekaiser is actually a perfect pick here, because not only can you just deny Ornn outright with just that 1v1ing potential, you can choose anyone. You can deny engagements, you can deny pop-off carry plays. So there's a lot of things that Mordekaiser can do to really cause so much chaos in the ranks of Polar Ace. Finishing off, you're going to be grabbing your mid laner. It's unfortunate that you have to blind pick it, but Orianna, probably like the best blind pick you can get.
Yeah, and still good flexibility in their damage departments. They got 280 carries essentially with 2 AP damage dealers, and then the Bard thrown in there as well as that support. And a lot of tools to deal with what Polar Ace have. I mean, Braum is typically known as the big support that counters the Ornn. I think Bard is a close second. It's very easy ult to land onto the Ornn to deny what he's trying to do. But here's something that might throw a wrench into the plan of Simplicity. The LeBlanc locked in for Polar Ace. Very, very strong at poke and assassinating members.
Yeah, and it creates a very well-rounded composition as well for Polar Ace, because now they can have a little bit of jungle mid synergy, find some picks on a more immobile mid laner that is an Orianna. So creates that early pressure there. Mid game, you can say, all right, now we have a Aphelios, you get that 1 to 2 item power spike. You still have some additional damage coming in from Lee Sin just based off of his original base stats to fight around those neutral objectives. And then once you get into that late game, all of the pieces come close together into one very nice sort of scrappy team fight composition, where on the other side for Simplicity, it's a more muddled side of it. Like the engagements aren't as obvious, though very much centered around these 2 AD carries of Graves and Ashe.
Still a little similar in terms of the ability to prevent what Polar Ace is trying to do, though, with that Bard ultimate, and like you mentioned, the Mordekaiser. So if LeBlanc jumps in, if Lee Sin jumps in and tries to, assassinate somebody, get that dragon kick, well, suddenly, boom, you're pulled into the Nether Realm, and then you're in a 1v1 against the Mordekaiser, something that LeBlanc definitely doesn't want, and Lee Sin could struggle in as well. So I think that Simplicity, while you're right in that they don't have as many clear, hard engage options as, say, an Ornn would be, they still got the Ashe Arrow, they still got Bard Tempered Fate, so they can find these engages when they need to. It's just a little harder to pull off the disengage and making sure that they're kiting back with their Orianna, with that Mordekaiser, making sure that they're preventing Polar Ace from finding those big engages, those big assassinations that they want with LeBlanc Lee Sin. But you said it earlier, the LeBlanc Lee Sin combo, absolutely brutal to deal with in the mid game. So I feel like this Orianna's got to play super safe. If I'm looking at Sudsy, I'm thinking you got to realize there's a target on your back here.
Yep. Oh, for sure. So I'm expecting him to be going cleanse on the Orianna just to get out of those snares that LeBlanc's going to be getting onto you with those ethereal chains. And it does cause a little bit of a concern just because of how obnoxious LeBlanc will be for Bucio to just sort of pilot it around, get some quick push, then go into the jungle, sort of duo with your boy Swaggerus for the just early jungle invades and for scuttle contestions. And then you can sort of use that extra momentum to possibly look for those 2v2 scenarios where you will have the advantage based off of just the original burst damage and Orianna just not providing anything until she gets to those 1 or 2 item power spikes. And sure, the tools that they have are very reactionary for Simplicity, but overall this is honestly Polar Ace's game to lose here. Not only does it deny Simplicity, who does have the favor of matchup results, because they did 2-0 them in the original scene and Summer League of Upsurge, but also the whole point denial, then the fact that they can continue their ride of being that 4th place co-pilot and gathering up all these points to prepare for the LWL and later Scouting Grounds competitions.
And the further Polar Ace can put themselves up in these Scouting Ground circuit points, the better. Even if they lose here, they still have a minimum of 175 points earned for them outside of the LWO qualifiers, but just knocking Simplicity down, making sure Simplicity doesn't get any points to challenge their current point position would mean so much for Polar Ace. And again, just that consistency, making top 4 in 3 different leagues would feel great, especially when you have this last minute jungle substitute coming in. Swaggerus, 2 games of Lee Sin. This is some trust that Polar Ace has for this last minute substitute. I don't think there's many teams that would do this, but I'm happy that they're saying, okay, we believe in your Lee Sin, a very hard mechanical champion to pull off, especially an amateur, but we're going to put our faith in it and go for this power mid lane jungle duo. He's also got other lanes to play around. Karma, Aphelios can easily push down Ornn as well. So I think the Polar Ace have a really good control of this early game.
Oh, for sure. And I think it also goes back to the whole narrative point of, do you put your jungler substitute on a tank duty and just sort of be that utility for the rest of the team to sort of help out Busio and Spawn on their carry roles, or do you give them comfort? And I think this is that comfort path where Pythagoras understands what he can and cannot do on the Lee Sin a lot more than if you put him onto a Zac or a Sejuani or even an Amumu for a sense. Like, on a little side note, I think Amumu is underrated, and he should honestly be back into the amateur competitive scene just because of the fact that it's a cool champion to play in the jungle.
I feel like if anybody was going to play him, it would have been Gerb Nation, but they've been knocked out as of last night. I did a quick search, Coco, on Pythagoras' op.gg just to get some insight into this player because we really don't know a lot about him. Interesting to see. Most played champions, J4 and Olaf. So Lee Sin's down to number 6 and only has a 45% win rate. I'm actually very surprised that we've seen 2 Lee Sins out of him today.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, when you put pen to paper in that mindset, you don't want to go Jarvan too much because of how bad his jungle matchups are currently. Like, Graves beats him, Kindred beats him, Olaf beats him. And when you go into the Olaf path, I'd honestly think is slightly worse than Lee Sin for a sense of playmaking potential, right? Honestly, a better champion overall just because of how strong his early jungle dueling is. But I think because of what Polar Race requires to help be sort of that initiation and more mobile jungler to keep up with Panda, who is going to be that faster jungler overall, the Lee Sin is just the slightly stronger option in the long run.
0 Mumu games played. Hate to break it to you, man.
Oh, crap.
That's a bummer. He's got a Rammus, though. He's actually got 100% win rate with two Rammus games. You'd love to see it.
Bring the roly-poly back. I'm ready for it.
But yeah, hey, what a breakout performance here. Just challenger player coming in at the last minute for Polar Ace and picking their first win up of the series. Now looking to make it to Scouting Ground Circuit points on the line. Reputation of a consistent top 4 finish on the line, and all off the back of throws from Simplicity Esports. But now all the momentum is on Polar Ace's side. They have what it takes to close out this series, and they have a very strong composition to do it. Let's argue now for Simplicity Esports side. Again, I test 2 Canadians on this side, so I'm automatically favoring them. Actually, never mind. Wait, that's Polar Ace with the 2 Canadians. I just misspoke. Simplicity's got 1 Canadian, 1 Australian. How highly do we value the Australian players?
I'd probably put them over USA, to be honest, just based off of regional bias. But overall, honestly, like, not bad. The thing that I'm having a problem with is that Sudsy went heal. And summon, not to mention phase rush on Bard again, bruh.
Yeah,
like, explain this to me, Bard main. What is the whole phase rush crap? Like, I don't think you've ever seen it.
I could not tell you. I don't understand the reason. You want phase rush to either run towards or run away from an enemy, right? Bard, first of all, he's not the hardest to proc it on, I guess, but like, you proc it, you're fast. Not doing a lot of consistent DPS over time. Maybe the best I could think of is you can reposition faster to get a second cosmic binding off, try and find a better angle for it. I still just think that there's better options. I'd love to pick Mr. Bad's brain a little bit here to figure out why that tech keeps coming through, because I feel like I would like Guardian a lot more right here. I would like even Summoner Spellbook a lot more here on Bard. I mentioned Omnistone before. I just think that there are better options. But who am I? Or Electrocute. Yeah, get aggressive with it. Maybe not against a Karma, because that's pretty hard to trade into that lane matchup. But, the point is, this does confuse me quite a lot. I was going for the sweeper for the first, foray into the jungle, so gonna have a little less vision control around the bot side in terms of spotting out Pythagoras, but that does signal to me that Panda could be looking for plays early on the bottom half of the map, making sure they're sweeping out, and could look for potentially even a level 2.
Yeah, for some summoners, get some early bot lane pressure, possibly look for a quick solo dragon when Panda is primed and ready.
They're going for the level 1 though.
Yeah, just gonna see. Hello, how you doing? Julian throwing out with the Q. We know what you're starting with. Haha. maybe
that
will help us.
It was the invade just to get that ultimate cooldown, you know, is worth. But that. I like for Polar Ace though that they're not falling for this. Pyswaggers was already on the top half of the map, so they're giving over the blue buff, sure, but it's not going to put the Lee Sin far behind at all, and they are spotted out doing it. So that means Pyswaggers can now make decisions. Do you want to go for the counter jungling, go for that vertical style, or try and catch out Panda, who does not have the ignite and is spotted on this ward? I want to see Julian actually walk up here too. Go for the early game pincer.
Pinch on him right now. He'll just smite that away.
I think it's too late.
If he's able to get out. Yeah, no, this is fine. This is actually great for simplicity because it slows down Polar Ace a little bit more. Sure, you're going to lose the wolves, but if you just hard rush over back onto your top blue side, then you can actually really sort of delay any power spikes for Pyswaggers. But BMT,
top side. Is he going to do it again?
This is so traditional.
No, you're not gonna find it.
Flash Q,
down to 100 health though. Flares, yeah, Flash Q auto might be enough, but now he's back up to 200. I don't think it would at this point. But BMD's gotten the solo kill first blood the past 2 games. I'd love to see it again. That's just one of those things where Julian, as a mid lane main, it felt like that was the big difference there. If you're the support and you know that the enemy jungler's there, you got to be up there in that bush underneath, or right above Tribush rather, waiting for the jungler. Otherwise they get away. But here we go, Flares. Taking a lot of damage, but Pyswaggers is here to get onto Brown Man Darius, and it's actually turned around this time. First blood for the Lee Sin rather than BMD.
Very good job from Pyswaggers, honestly, because he's been sort of reading the style that Simplicity likes to play. 2 out of the 3 times, Brown Man Darius is able to just go ahead, get that advantage at level 1, looks for the first blood, plays super aggressively, and then doesn't really ward to properly situate himself in that pushed up lane. Pyswaggers punishes it splendidly. So the fact that you're able to do that now, get that first blood onto Lee Sin, sort of helps sort of equalize the CS lead that Panda has accrued with a 12 CS differential, and might be going for the double scuttle as well, and takes your chickens. Like, you are so far behind CS wise that first blood gold is sort of moot at this point.
Yeah, the XP is the big factor in that one. Level 4 on Panda, and he's going to get the other scuttle, which packs a lot of XP. I'd hit level 5 before Pyswaggers hits level 4.
Yeah, I think he'll hit level 5 if he takes the Gromp. Like, if you have Mr. Bad roam up with you and deny Pyswaggers this Gromp, he might just hit level 5. Does he get the burn on that? You do have to be careful,
because Pyswaggers does have an early bag here. So Longsword plus the smite that will actually slow down, do a little bit of damage. Panda has not backed yet, and with Julian here, I don't know if they're going to find this, but Mr. Bad's walking around the side. It does go over to Pyswaggers, but Panda's still in the neighborhood, still looking for that damage, but he can't find it.
Oh, he's going for wolves now. He's just going to keep on his pressure.
Wow.
Nice reaction from Panda, to be honest, to just keep himself in power farm as fast as possible. Like, this is what Graves has to do, and this is what he's so darn great at too. Like, the fact that you can just power farm super fast, get those power items, sure. You're also super healthy as well,
now they're
so you can make plays like this.
Lucio doing what he can, throws down the ignite, flash over the wall, but Panda gets the kill and hits level 5. Successful dive there from Simplicity.
So now we have a primed Panda once again. Sure, it was sort of the same story in game 2.
We've seen this before, Coco.
We have. We very much have. It's just a question of which Panda are we going to get.
Flares catches him out. It might start right now, Coco. Honestly, Flares has flash. I want to see him go for it. He does, but
didn't get the W.
Flashes the auto. I don't know what just happened there. That was this very strange interaction.
It timed out half animation. So he had the bellowing breath auto and power animation, but it timed out right before the actual auto attack procced. So he did not get the bonus damage, and that actually saves Panda's life. So good job, Riot scripting and Ping. Ping just saved Panda.
Ping saved Panda. See, last time it was Summoner's Rift that was keeping Polar Ace in the game.
It's just,
we missed the actual auto, but still, that's
that's a nice dash though too.
Barely gets over that, yeah.
Not too bad.
Was close. Trade of flashes at the end of the day, but the dragon does go over to Polar Ace. Through all of that, they saw the Panda go for that dive and then roam towards the top half of the map. So that means that Pyswaggers can go for the objectives. And okay, we'll actually get another replay here at the bottom corner. Yeah. This is so close.
Yeah, just watch that orange ball above his head. Oh, hold on. We'll just throw that away.
We'll get back to that.
I guess there's some action. It's all right. don't worry about it. Also, the other thing with Simplicity is you don't need to worry about early dragons either, because your team doesn't really require them. Like, sure, like an extra few armor and magic resist numbers would be nice, but map and lane pressure is just better for their team as a whole going into this early and to mid game stage, just because you want BMD to always have the pressured advantage, to be that split pushing Mordekaiser, to force flares to never be able to join a team fight effectively or in a nice spot. And then also for that possible potential to always break down a first turret and get some additional plating onto your team and ramp your team up to those nice power spikes that you need for all of these champions. But for now, Panda's seeing if he can get a redemption kill in this top
Looking
end.
for it. BMD could throw out the ultimate just to stall out Flares. I actually would love it if he started off with that, because then Flares won't see if Panda's there, and he'll be relying on his team to communicate that to him. But
Very true.
I think they're just waiting for Flares to walk further forward.
Yeah,
Not going for it right now.
I'll have to keep an eye on that. Oh, I saw the dash in, but yeah, he's able to get out just fine. However, now just a little bit of a calm before the storm, to be honest, because you have Shelly coming up in the next few seconds, and you have top priority in favor of Simplicity. So make sure you can get some additional farm, keep this massive CS lead that you have for Panda in your court, and then go down for that Shelly, and make sure that you, again, have that lane pressure.
Backwave on a Busio. He's got by Swaggerus there, so is fine and should be successful in his disengage. But Sudsy still looking to stop that. There's the chains, trying to lock down the Orianna, but doesn't find it there. Yeah, Busio's been doing silently well in the mid lane, just keeping this Orianna there. Is down in CS, but it's allowed their bot lane spawn to get 3 games in a row now, a sizable lead over K-Hip Hop.
Honestly, I would tend to disagree that Busio is doing good in this mid lane. Like, he's not been able to roam to help Swaggerus out in the jungle. He's not been able to really trade efficiently against Sudsy, and Sudsy's just bopping him left and right with his Orianna. So, honestly, a concern for me in the draft is turning out for better for Simplicity. But as you said, the differential for Spawn slowly accruing up. He's got a great power spike to deal with trading. This is also another reason why Panda is just completely ignoring this bottom side and just letting it be that weak lane state, because all you want from Hip Hop is to be that enchanted crystal arrow proc and just find those hit. Make those plays and then allow pain. Okay.
All right, and it looks like we are back there, Coco. Not sure how much dead air we just experienced, but either way, back onto Summoner's Rift, all caught up in the game. Pretty even gold state right now between each team. Simplicity, they're looking a little unwilling to make plays. Like, there's been a few situations where I want them to try and go for something, want them to make that play, pull that trigger.
Go for Herald. This is what they should be doing right now. Is they should be prioritizing Herald. Like, you can see Mr. Bad is actually going mid, so they are looking to set this up, which is nice. And again, this is like TLDR of it. Keep the priority for Shelly. Make sure that you have strong lanes on the top end. Weak side bot lane is fine, because all you need is Ash Arrow to start fights and make picks. That's all you need. But Dragon is up in 50 seconds as well, and that's what Polar Ace is looking for.
Polar Ace setting up for that one, but you're right. Immediately, the Herald started here by Simplicity. Panda on this objective, and mid's pushed in, top's pushed in, should go over just fine for Simplicity. And they've been doing a great job controlling these Rift Heralds throughout the entire series. The issue is I haven't seen them use it, you know, not consistently enough, getting a huge advantage for it. There was that one time last game where they actually got that first turret. But I still think that Polar Ace will feel fine with just stacking these dragons, going for that, getting the Dragon Soul as quickly as they can. But now Busio in a tight spot here. Gotta be careful with Panda around it. He's just dropping the Rift Herald immediately in that mid lane. Flash out of K-Hip Hop on the bottom half of the map. Teleport coming in as well. It's Flares roaming down here. Tempered Fate land for Mr. Bad, but it's not timed correctly. Flares still finds the knock up, the miss. Sonic Wave from Swaggerus, but he flashes for it to seal the deal. Now the teleport comes in here from Brandman Darius. He pulls in Julian into the Netherrealm as Panda runs at members of Polar Ace that are trapped under the turret. Mr. Bad takes the kill onto Heroes, almost goes down himself, but now the re-engage, chasing down onto Spawn, has flash available, uses the heal just to stay alive. Busio flares up to Busio with the 1-2 punch. gets a double kill, but Brahmandarius still onto Flares. This Aura taking a lot of damage. Spawn peppering Sudsy, peppering this Mordekaiser. They're locking him down. Busio jumps back in, but Spawn's got a sliver of health, has to flash backwards as Flares disengages as well. Look at those health bars. That was a slim margin of error to play around for Polar Ace, but they get out. Oh, Busio's still here.
Oh, BMD,
Swaggerus is there as well. BMD with the greedy plays. Maybe he can take down Flares. Flares, you did not need to be there, man. Yeah, whatever. It's a 1-for-1 trade. Flares wants to make it a little more even, but Polar Ace, man, that was a long engage there on the bottom side, diving between turrets.
Man, the back end of that fight, the back half end, was so unnecessary. Like, Simplicity was able to turn it around. Like, Polar Ace overextended. They really tried to reach for those kills. And then with the teleport from BMD and Panda getting in with that flank were great. But they didn't need to chase. All they needed was to relieve that pressure, disengage, and just immediately divert their eyes up to the dragon to prioritize it. It's great that they're able to get it eventually, but some of those kills were just unnecessary from Simplicity. And it allows Polar Ace to still keep a hold onto this game. Even though that Crystal Arrow misses, just get some get out, please. For the love that all is holy, just go ahead, reset the lanes.
Don't try and fight them, Panda.
Yep, don't do it, Panda. Like, Pan don't right now.
Want it. They want it.
Pan don't.
They want Swaggerus. If they can land a stun, actually, they split attention. What is going on right now? One goes up, one goes down, and Panda pays the price. I don't know what the communication was there. Mr. Bad studs hero. But Panda goes on Swaggerus. Coco, this is some sloppy play.
This is some sloppy play here. I usually give the teams the benefit of the doubt, thinking that they have like the inside mind. Like, they're the ones talking to each other, trying to set up these plays. But then some of them are just like way out of left field or right field. You know, pick the field you want. Either of them are just ridiculous. Because at this time, it's
either way, it ain't a home run.
Yeah, it's not a home run. It's still in the park at least, so the team can come back. And now with these turret plates going over to Spawn, who still has a massive CS differential between him and Hip Hop, who is still struggling to stay alive in this game. Oh, it's a nice snag onto him, but it doesn't matter. Yeah. It just doesn't matter. He's so huge right now with Spawn on Aphelios.
Doing a great job in the bottom half, and that's just been the story of this series when it comes to that bot lane. Simplicity is also not the team with the emergency substitute jungle, keep in mind. So we expect them to have a little better communication, a little better focus when they're going for these plays. But
they are a new bot lane, aren't they? Hip Hop and Mr. Bad are
newer bot lane. Yes, true.
So maybe they're having a little bit of a synchronicity issue between supports and marksmen respectively. So that might be like the issue on why they're not doing as hot as Spawn and Julian. But both Julian and Spawn are phenomenal players in their own right. So you got to give credit to them where credit is due. Now with these resets coming in, looking at the power spikes, you finally get a Blade of the Rune King onto Hip Hop. You have the Infinity Edge onto Spawn. But the boots, the change on the Berserker Greaves is not really telling the true tale of how big this gap is between these two marksmen. Where on the other side, you look at Panda and Pystragus, where that's like the real big differential right now is Panda's inconsistency to Pystragus' like adaptiveness in this series.
Pystragus has got the kills, but keep in mind, Panda still has the CS lead. Has been like doing 40. A great job of just power farming up to find that lead. And Sudsy in the mid lane has been having a great time against Busio, but maybe not as good of a time now. Now we're going to start to see the power of the Lee Sin. Plus the block, but they don't full commit to it. Now the engage onto Spawn. Mr. Bad delaying the inevitable here. They get the stun, and that's a kill. Panda takes down Spawn and gets all that gold.
There's the pick that we wanted, and this is what Hip Hop's all about. Oh, they're going to keep chasing down onto
Hero. Julian's taking some damage, and he will fall down as Sudsy in the mid lane does survive from the punch that Polar Ace threw their way. Simplicity, off of that play, find their way back into this game.
And this entire time, we were having a little bit of a bout in that top lane. BMD has sort of forced Flares to sort of stay mid and see if they can find an advantage there to really amplify the power spike that they have with Busio's LeBlanc right now. Like, you have Luden's Echo. You should be winning these trades now, buddy, like with LeBlanc, but you're getting dived.
Going for the dive again. Busio actually goes in, tries to jump back, distorting back, just dancing around members of Simplicity. The turret does go down, but Polar Ace take the kill onto Panda yet again. this is where most of the gold for Simplicity is. So every time he goes down, Polar Ace find avenues to just, get these objectives, find these plays elsewhere on the map. And now they might go topside spawn in the 2v1. Brownman Darius in a lot of trouble. He pulls in heroes into the death realm, but that's more of a defensive play just to get away. Can't even get on top of this Karma, and that's about to end. Spawn should be given this kill. Maybe PieSwaggers will take it. No, it's donated to Spawn. Well played by Polar Ace.
If Spawn didn't get it, I would have been very upset.
Yeah, I would have reported PieSwaggers.
Yeah, okay. But Shelly's up, which with the priority on top side, they're going to be able to go ahead and take this. And they still have 30 seconds until the dragon comes up. If they find a pick onto Ornn, it just means that they're really going to be able to take the dragon with no problems whatsoever. But it's just a question of what Rift Herald is going to do for Polar Ace.
And it takes a long time to take down flares, so all that time spent is time lost on this top half of the map. Polar Ace will get that one, but this is the first time now that we've seen Simplicity with the inside track on Dragon. They have so much vision control around this objective, and they just picked the top laner, so as long as Sudsy can stay alive right here, they should get this objective pretty cleanly.
Yeah, they're going to. Curious to see what Simplicity is going to be able to do to defend this turret. Luckily, the members of Polar Ace have decided to withdraw, and all it does is do additional damage. And honestly, the way that Sudsy's been playing, that's totally fine. Sudsy's been doing great in that mid lane as Orianna, so that tower is probably going to stay standing for a while longer as Mr. Bad and Panda, the duo of these two, are going to look
Simplicity. They're looking for it without their ultimates available, and the counter play coming in from Polar Ace. PieSwaggers swagging on members of Simplicity, coming in last minute, but Panda doing so much damage here on the disengage. Mr. Bad helping him out as Brownman Darius finds himself on the top flank here. Flares buying time for the team.
They're in a bad spot.
Yeah, Polar Ace now have to disengage, but it's so hard for them to find at the slow end of Busio. Panda's looking for it, distorts. Flash forward by Brownman Darius. He finds Spawn in the Death Realm, trying to take him down. Flares gets a double knockup, but it might be too late. It's not! Busio just pops off in that team fight, waiting for the cooldowns, waiting to get back onto Brownman Darius as Flares takes up the damage. A triple kill to Busio. The arrow coming out. Is it going to be the side? No way! Oh! With the fast fingers of Busio, just barely dodging out on that one.
Oh, I was so ready for the John Cena arrow, dude, but unfortunately not. Good play on that one, though. Like, that was great spacing from Busio and from Flares, respectively. They were able to deal enough damage to really sort of make sure that proper peeling was there for each other. But unfortunately for them, this is actually kind of a win for Simplicity, because even though you're able to get a couple kills, look at the pressure right now and look at how you're going to be preparing for the next objective. Baron's going to be up in a minute. Don't need to worry about it because neither of these teams really have a threat unless you have the chakrams on spawn.
What is Mr. Bad?
I don't know why you're like, you already have vision control elsewhere.
Okay, he's out. Okay, hey, look at that. No, Busio might find him.
No, he's fine. He should be able to get out with no issues. And they also get a red turret topside as well. So you're able to get a turret there. And honestly, that Mr. Bad play kind of lost them the tempo that I was going to applaud them for, because he got caught out and a lot of tools were needed to be used. So now it's Polar Ace's favor. A little unfortunate and a little unsloppy, just like that Graves Q. I saw that.
We all did. We all saw it right into the wall, Panda. Oh, he also misses the red buff. Smite PieSwaggers now looking for it. Oh, that's a lot of damage from Panda. Going for the lethality build and outputting that hurt to the Lee Sin.
Okay, this is where BMD goes bot side. He has Death Realm available. He can push turret pretty quickly. He doesn't have a second item yet. I wonder what he's going to be going. I think he's Rylai's next. It should be Rylai's, because he is in a little bit of an awkward situation, because a lot of the reasons why he isn't getting kills is because he's not able to slow them down to keep him stuck on his passive. So get the Rylai's, and then he can go for Nash's 2 for that ultimate damage.
But I kind of also like something a little more defensive. Try and survive against Busio, because if you can pull the LeBlanc into the Death Realm, as opposed to now... Yeah, it does give you health. But like, you look at Aphelios, he's got that QSS already, built that very, very early after the Infinity Edge. So no longer the proper target here for that Mordecai. So you got to be thinking about who else can you go for. 7-1 and 2 LeBlanc, while it's terrifying to be stuck with her, definitely helps out the rest of your team. So I'm looking at that for Brownman Darius to try and disrupt the disruption coming in from the mid laner.
For sure. And honestly, I feel like Rylai's will still be effective for that, because it gives you a decent amount of health. And the way that Busio is building isn't really that bad to worry about. Sure, Medjai Soul Stealer gives you that extra but I have to put that on hold as BMD getting engaged on.
Swaggerous gets the kick back on Brown Man Darius, who now needs to disengage. Does some decent damage to the Lee Sin, but falls down regardless. Now the engage onto Panda. Look at Busio trying to get onto K Hip Hop. The Bard ult and the Ash Arrow ult. Ash Arrow actually lands there onto Julian. That was incredible right there. Going through the Stasis Bard ult to hit the support behind. What a combo. And they turn the play around.
Win or lose this series, Mr. Bad needs to rename to Mr. Bard, because that was absolutely nuts. And he's done that twice, almost 3 times, I think, in this entire series. And he has been playing out of his mind and has really been changing my thought process of why Phase Rush Bard is definitely not a thing.
Yeah, you still could have done that. You still could have done that without Phase Rush. Just want to point that out.
Very true, but hey, he's still pulling it off.
Impressive regardless. Yeah, the Dead Man's Plate's great. You get that extra movement speed when you're not going for the Mobies to get you around the map, and just that survivability. But look at Busio. Damage first onto Panda. That's ridiculous. And now the re-engage here. Spawn trying to find it. Now they call the Forge God. They knock up Sudsy. The Oriana's got to get through there. Just barely makes it through in time. So Polar Ace don't find their picks, but they chunk out 3 members of Simplicity. Now the teleport play coming in here from BMD. Polar Ace spotted out. They're ready for it. But the Dragon's already started. They can't just let it go back into the pit. Panda's over. And now they got to reposition. Hip Hop's got to get in a position where he can do some damage without threat of Busio over this wall. Mr. Bad trying to spot him out. Brandman Darius find that top of the front line. But who's got the bigger front line? Busio gets on the Sudsy, and the Dragon stolen by Swaggerous. Simplicity botched the play, lose multiple members, and I don't think they can win the prolonged play either. Brandman Darius at least finds one, but does fall down regardless. Polar Ace diving in, finding their men.
You could see BMD just trudging through the front lines of the Polar Ace team to try and get Swaggerous to death realm him and get the denial to make sure that you don't get the challenge.
Panda.
Oh wait, Panda.
No!
Panda. Panda, baby. Anyways, back to my point.
Now. Yeah. What were we talking about?
Yeah, so it was nice that
past
BMD
20 minutes,
was
so
trying to go.
We're probably going to see that a few times.
Yeah, BMD was trying to go for Swaggerous to deny the whole smite contestation, but he wasn't able to get it. He actually turned on to Spawn, who Spawn had just used his QSS for, I believe it was just a snare that had happened. So from that end, he was able to turn in. He gets the kill. That was the one great thing that Simplicity got out of that fight, was that we know that BMD can 1v1 Spawn at this current moment in time. But you lose the Dragon, which doesn't, it delays the soul point just a little bit, and it gives a little bit of extra for the rest of the players for Polar Ace when they win that team fight inevitably. So now it's a little bit of a calm before the storm, and honestly, if I was Simplicity, wait out for just a few more moments to get a little bit of tempo pressure into your side waves, where for the side of Polar Ace, honestly, pedal to the metal, push down this mid lane, and finally break open that mid lane turret.
Polar Ace have so much more ability to make plays quickly. They have LeBlanc and Karma that have short ultimate cooldown timers and can make plays a lot faster than Simplicity can with some of these longer ultimate cooldowns like the Bard, like the Mordekaiser that they really need up. So now all their ultimate cooldowns are up. They're ready to make some kind of play. That mid lane turret is just
auto attack it. Honestly, just auto attack it.
Wait, this is brilliant. He actually cashes out Spawn, not spotted this time around, and gets the assassination kill. That was huge from Panda. No. And the stun from Mr. Bad. I don't know if that ultimate was necessary. Kind of just saved Busio's life, but either way, they still catch out the AD carry. And now they can look to continue the fight. They have no Ash Arrow, but Sudsy ultimate is available. They can look to use that Shockwave to try and catch out more members of Polar Ace.
Yeah, and that whole pick onto Spawn is actually way more catastrophic than you'd originally think. Yes, you lose pressure here immediately, but he also flashed and still died. So now you do not have that disengagement tool to help peel yourself when you get either death realmed in or if you're getting caught once again in these fights. So it's going to pay inevitably, but you know what?
Busio gets chunked out immediately, and Flares CC'd by Mr. Bad, so he can't actually throw out that ultimate, and they take down by Swaggerous. Simplicity just played this team fight perfectly, outplaying Polar Ace. They get the turret, They took down the jungler. They might look for more. I think they're wise to back off right now. Panda's in some trouble. Gets bursted down by Busio. Every fight's got to end that way, right, Coco? I don't think it's too surprising at this point in time, but this might be a surprise. Mr. Bad looking for it. No, I can't find Busio. He thought maybe with the dead man's play fast if you would have enough damage, but you got to worry for your own life now. Finally, the mid turret's taken, but Mr. Bad on the retreat here. Look at Busio. Roaming up has no flash, but as LeBlanc can catch up to you very quickly. Mr. Bad could be in some trouble here. No turret, but Bradman Darius is there for backup. Busio. Oh, okay. I see you, Bard. Trying to buy some more time, but regardless, we'll go down. Busio getting that kill, going legendary. 22 stacks on the Medjay.
I'm curious to see if that actual delaying of your death is really valuable for Simplicity, because you have about 57 seconds until the next Infernal Dragon. Baron is still a possibility, and honestly, you got Chakrams for spawn. It is a threat now. You need to keep that one in mind, especially when they do a sort of objective or objective trade. And now I'm just in this odd rut right now, okay, because Polar Ace, they have the tempo pressure, they have massive damage threats, but they keep picking bad fights, and Simplicity keeps finding the right picks to win themselves back pressure. So it's really going to be up to how they play around these two objectives and how they threaten them to really determine the next few moments of this game.
It's also going to depend on how strong Busio can be during these team fights. This is so much of the gold that Polar Ace has amounted for themselves. 22 stacks of the Medjay, plus the completed Ornn upgraded Rabadon's Death Crown. This LeBlanc will be packing a punch to end all punches. And if you can assassinate anybody from Simplicity, which there are multiple squishy members you can look for, that could suddenly be the way that Polar Ace can just completely blow open this game. They start with the Dragon, and Simplicity, they're on the inside track from the mid lane, trying to get some damage there. They do take down Julian very quickly. Dragon secured, but can they win the fight afterward? Look at Busio, pretty much untouched here. Ready to jump in, jump out for these fights as Brown Darius dies to flares in the death realm. Can't even take that 1v1. Polar Ace will take that play any day of the week.
Oh, and they take the dragon as well. So only for Julian's life are they able to claim that final soul point contention. It's really great for Polar Ace, because now with the fact that, as you mentioned, with the upgraded Ornn items and the amount of damage that they're able to dish out, as long as either Busio or Spawn doesn't get snagged into the Death Realm or just caught out by Panda and Sudsy, they are in a great position to continue fights going forward. But it's all a matter of if, because that last fight, BMD took a brutish amount of damage before he went into the Death Realm to 1v1 flares and sort of used it to delay his death further. But if that turns around and Busio jumps in and BMD is able to find him, I don't know how well Busio will actually be able to do in the 1v1, even with the amount of items that he has at this moment.
That's what we haven't seen yet. We actually haven't seen BMD lock down this LeBlanc with that Death Realm. Hard to use because Busio will jump in and jump out immediately, but if you're able to catch the LeBlanc before she can bounce back out of the fight, that's 1,000 gold bounty that your team could pick up, as well as getting rid of those Medjay stacks, or a decent portion of them at least. You got to shut down Busio at some point. I don't see you winning this game if this LeBlanc can just keep playing the way that she's been playing. You don't have a tanky front line that can absorb all of her poke and damage. You got to find a way to get on to this LeBlanc. And unfortunately, the tools that they have at their disposal to engage the Ash Arrow, the Bard ult, not the best to lock on this champion. I'm feeling very good about Polar Ace's chances so far, especially now that they're playing for these objectives. Getting the control vision down around this Baron, starving it out, because now Simplicity has to walk into a completely dark jungle against the LeBlanc, and that is a scary thing.
Yeah, that's a very scary thought to have, and a lot of their ward trinkets are currently disengaged. They are fighting into the darkness, as you mentioned, and at this point, honestly, they can still fight for it because Baron can be quite a strong sixth man, but if they're going to make a play, they have to make it soon.
They got to worry about Busio. They don't have vision on this LeBlanc right now, and there we go, chunking out Panda, but Busio does take a lot in return. Bard ultimate goes through, plus the ult onto Hero. Can't take down this Karma, but look at the backline. Swaggerus is in a lot of trouble. Tries to get the insect play, but can't find it. But the damage from Spawn is insane from such long range. Now Flair's trying to engage here onto the backline of the side of Simplicity, but can't quite find him. Can't quite find a Polar Ace. They want this. They know that Spawn is strong. They know that they got the Aphelios on their side. And they are not afraid of what Simplicity's packing right now with all of their ultimates down, minus that Death Realm. Maybe they can catch up players. This Soren's just so tanky.
Yeah, he is a big boy right there. And with the minion wave here, they could possibly break down this turret with how much damage they're providing.
Oh, my God! Busio, he's back over. He's not even running away. He's still taking the fight against Panda and winning it, everybody. A double kill over to Busio as a mid turret will fall. Shockwave misses on Spawn by mere inches. Mere inches, Coco. Polar Ace are fighting a game of inches, and inch by inch they are taking down Simplicity, who just cannot keep up with this pressure.
And it's all been Busio for the last few moments, just finding the picks, finding the snags here and there, and getting out with his life. It's amazing from him on that. That only delays it further for his team. I don't know how much. Yeah, this Baron's gone nonetheless, but in the end, a power play for the side of Polar Ace and a massive assassin on that LeBlanc for Busio. This means that you cannot find engagements anymore. If you do not kill this LeBlanc before a fight starts, you will lose outright because he can just delete members at any moment.
And Simplicity were so close to taking Busio down. He was probably down to single-digit health there, if not like 20, when they got the full Graves combo on him around the Barret. But he was able to get out and able to heal up with the Corrupting Potion, had all 3 ticks, and then back up to half health, can keep making these crazy plays. Yep. Sonic Wave lands onto Sudsy. Do they want to go for it? Flares with Call to Forge God, but look at Brown Mandarius. Look at Mr. Bad on the side. It doesn't matter. Sudsy's caught out. The team fight is already lost for Simplicity. They get caught out of position, not playing front to back, and now Brown Mandarius goes golden trying to stay alive, but look at Flares. The frontliner jumping on a Panda, and Busio follows him through the magical journey, gets a double kill onto Brown Mandarius as the mid lane is getting ravaged by Polar Ace. Simplicity won game 1. They threw game 2, and they are kicking themselves for it because Polar Ace are not here to play around. They are here to get every last scouting ground point that they can, and they are here to prove that they are one of the most consistent teams in the scouting ground circuit, guaranteeing a minimum of 4th place in 3 tournaments. Polar Ace will take the series.
And there's one thing that this series tells me is that Polar Ace shows up when it counts. I was talking about earlier, like I made my prediction 2-1 Simplicity because of the history that they have, is that Simplicity has beaten them twice before. But it's when it was in group stages, when it didn't matter, when they were cheesing them left and right. And honestly, it was a different roster as well from both Polar Ace and Simplicity in their own rights. It was still full spectrum at the time. But just the changes that they've had with how well Spawn had performed in not only the second game, but I'd also have to say here where he had proper spacing and allowed a lot of pressure to be relieved from Busio, it just creates that massive team composition that you need. And the whole, like the sum is greater than all that whole jazz. Parts. I don't know how the quote is. Yeah, it's as it is. My mind's a mess after that third game. Messing their quote. Third time, yeah, man. Third time's a charm, I suppose. But nonetheless, it's just a wonderful job from Busio on that third game, and overall Polar Ace show up. And
keep in mind, Busio is a pretty unknown factor in amateur, has not been around the scene for that long. Polar Ace, one of the first big organizations that he's been a part of, and showing up this big in such an important match, securing Polar Ace now a minimum of 325 scouting ground points. Again, not counting the LWO qualifiers, just from the tournaments that are being ran here in the amateur scene. This is looking great for Polar Ace. Even if they only get 4th place, they are the most consistent team, I would say, other than maybe 100 Thieves, that is currently in the amateur circuit, constantly placing very well. They're pushing for that podium finish. They're pushing for that top 3. But if you can take 4th place consistently, that's still putting yourself in a fantastic position going into scouting grounds. So Polar Ace pulling it out. You love to see at least a decisive win for game 3. Game 1, close, shaky. Game 2, they were given that win by Simplicity, but game 3, Polar Ace took that win.
Yeah, and that's what matters, right? Is that the errors of their ways had been fixed. They were able to adapt on the fly, and Simplicity just wasn't really able to do that this entire series.
No.
They had a game plan going in. They succeeded in almost every single attempt. But overall, the fact that you were able to make small adjustments to your approach to the game over the course of the series is really what matters when it comes down to these crucial times, when you start getting to the upper echelons of amateur, when you are really punching up against teams like 100 Thieves Next and a new Esports.
Dude, the Frozen Five, man, I tell you,
Yep.
they're insane. I'm loving this polar ace. I'm loving that they're fighting success again. The org popped off back in beginning of 2019 when they had Atheras on the original roster. Now names changed to Flares, but it's great to see that they're still fighting some success here. The Battle of the Frozen Simps, I think we all know definitively how that one ended, everybody. Congratulations, Polar Ace, for continuing on into the playoffs. Better luck next time, Simplicity. We're going to send it back over to the analyst desk so Rafa and the boys can break down exactly what happened there. Take it away, guys.
Thank you, Kangas and Coco, for casting that series so beautifully. We'll miss you, gentlemen, and we'll see you more than likely next week for semifinals. But for Simplicity and Polar Ace, oh, man. Oh, what a hell of a game to end on for that first series here. Now, before we get further, because I know what the audience is expecting us to talk about, but we got to talk about the draft first, because there's some conditions here that Simplicity Esports lined up for themselves that to be honest, Cubby, we thought was pretty smart for them regarding after the performance from Polar Ace in Game 2.
Yeah, I mean, with the start of that game, I thought that all 3 games were just going to be Panda diff, for better or for worse, because Panda had an insane start to that game on Graves, invading the jungle of Lee, and by Swaggers, he was really thrown off his game, and he went for a very risky gank into the top lane, which, it did really help his laner in flares against the Mordekaiser, but it put him drastically behind. He was doing Dragon when he was level 3, and right after he wrapped up that Dragon, I believe Panda dinged 6. I mean, he was so far behind in that early game, and it was looking like Simplicity was going to rotate around this Lethality Graves, play around them, and find this win. But fortunately for the side of Polar Ace, Grit doesn't grant magic resist anymore. And for Polar Ace, holy smokes. Busio, this kid is 16 years old. He just went off in the series. He was insane on this LeBlanc.
It was completely crazy. I absolutely love dominating LeBlanc players, and that's exactly what Busio was in that game. The mid-jungle combination of the... Okay, I get it, Brian.
I'm putting you up. I'm putting you together back, Smacks. Don't worry. Help me out here.
I think it's coming.
I'm so give us your energy!
But anyway, the mechanical outplays that these two were able to put together in this game were really, really impressive. The selflessness from Swaggerus on this Lee Sin was really, really, really nice. Like Cubby said, he sacrificed a lot of his own jungle clear to make that top gank happen. It went very, very well. They got that first blood, making sure that Flares doesn't get solo killed to first blood 3 games in a row. And then from then on out, it was just Busio diff 100%. Oh, the 25 Magi stacks as well. He was just popping off all game long. I love good LeBlanc players, guys.
Doc coming up big on the graphics.
Oh.
All right. Well done, Doc.
Yeah, to give credit to Rooksy, he did not account for having to need a last-minute sub jungler. So, but if we throw up the predictions, there are some people on the desk that had the correct predictions going in today. We did not know that there was going to be a sub jungler, but you know what? It doesn't matter because that's just the way it is, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, we'll show the predictions, but yeah, just check this out.
I think just look at Busio. I think we have a highlight reel coming in here for this guy. Just went absolutely nuts on this LeBlanc, and his movement between his jumps was so good on this champion. I mean, the fact that he was bouncing around, playing so aggressive and far up. I mean, look at this. It's just beautiful movement, kiting out the Mordekaiser. I mean, this dude had himself a game, and what a series coming in, or what a game coming in for Busio. I know it was kind of a tough series, but really shone through in this game as look at these 16-year-old reaction speeds coming on through. Oh, so good.
So speedy. Oh, man. He did Polar Ace a favor here. They literally have an entire highlight reel just from this one game here. Ridiculous stuff.
Stop bragging, Rob. You're already ahead in fantasy points.
I'm gonna rub it in while I have a chance. I mean, look.
You know what? This one's not too bad either. This one's not too bad.
You and Rooksy were on the same page, Smax.
Yeah.
You guys didn't, so.
Yeah, we just didn't. Unfortunately, instead of going on Howling Abyss like a new bot lane does, they decided to take the first game of the series as their warm up for this one.
True.
Hey, it was still quite good. I got the prediction right, kind of.
Yeah.
I was more right than Cubby, so that's what counts.
Hey man, apparently my brain is still a little bit better than a guitar pick. You know, I picked Polar Ace players. The guitar pick didn't do me any justice on the simplicity, but I thought this would be a really close series, and it was. And Polar Ace, I got to say, props to Pi Swaggerus. He stepped in, and in the 3 games, he looked so much more comfortable from game 1 to game 3. He's going up an ex-LCS jungler. I mean, Panda has experience. He has pedigree. This guy isn't a slouch, and yes, he was drastically far behind, and it wasn't like he was the one hard carrying and jungle diffing, but he did very well on Lee Sin in those fights. He landed some good kicks, some good Qs. He stepped up huge and found Polar Ace 2 wins and got them some even more all-important SGC points coming on through top 4. And I believe they do have a date as well with 100 Thieves next, who they did take the game off of back in big, but it's a tough task. But the fact that they reached the semis of Cup, very good for Polar Ace. Congrats to them on the win, and we really enjoyed watching that game 3. I know we kind of joked about games 1 and 2 being a sort of a fiesta, not being very close, kind of being some what looked at times to be for fun games from some of the players, but this one, both teams really stepped up. They delivered a really entertaining match, and Busio, man, he was nuts. I cannot say enough about this guy. So congrats, Polar Ace, and congrats on the win, and best of luck in your next match, because I think you're gonna need it.
Yeah, I mean, without prefacing too much into next week's semifinal, which will now be confirmed as 100 Thieves taking on Polar Ace, the track record doesn't bode too well for Polar Ace, and now is with their old jungler. I have to give praise to Pi Swag today, because
yes.
To take that Lee Sin matchup once you've already seen the Graves is very bold, because your only win condition is just to snowball one part of the map. It's insanely hard, and that is exactly what he did, because you're not out farming the Graves, you're not out leveling the Graves. Hell, it's even hard to try and take the 1v1s early on, just because it is so easy for Graves to be able to disengage from Lee Sin in those early skirmishes and continue stacking armor through True Grit. That, I mean, as someone who has played that matchup so many times, it is just so easy to play the Graves matchup versus the Lee Sin. So I much respect. I still don't think that in its current form, it will be enough, but maybe a week's worth of scrims and any practice or last-minute training, they might be able to pull something over 100 Thieves. But that will be a story for next week, ladies and gentlemen, as we're going to take a quick break to get ready and warmed up for Series 2 between Dark Matter and a new Esports.